Hey, we're working on a gas engine drive skid hot water unit. Customer complaint here is low pressure. No gauge on the machine. He's just kind of going by feel. He's a contract cleaner. He goes by feel. He says, pressure just doesn't seem like it what it used to be. So what this technician did was they went ahead and they put in a manifold in between the hose and the gun so we could put a gauge in there. Different manifolds are available. Some have temperature gauges. This one's just a pressure gauge, which is fine. His complaint's not heat, it's just pressure. So we hooked that up. It's 2400 psi is what it was running. The unit's supposed to be this particular unit, after we did some research, is 4.7 gallons a minute, 3500 psi. So that tells us that if you look at your nozzle chart, that'll tell you that it should be a number 5 nozzle. So what we do is we record on the paperwork that the unit came in at 2400 psi. It's supposed to be 3500 psi. First thing we do, because nozzles are so critical, is we replace the nozzle. We put in a brand new number 5 nozzle, restarted the machine, checked the pressure, 2500 psi. Record that on the paperwork to show the difference, 2500 psi. Then we come back and we start looking, and you can see the brand new regulator. What this technician did was that we went ahead and adjusted that regulator, the old one, as far in as we could. And then when you look at the bypass hose actually goes right back into the water tank. So what this technician did was, with the machine running and the gun open, it's secured inside a vise so that it doesn't get away from anybody. We look down inside to where the bypass hose runs in, and water was continuing to run inside there. So that was a pretty good indication that if the regulator is cranked down all the way, there shouldn't be any water going in the bypass mode. So that's a good indication the regulator is bad. So the regulator was removed, and it was replaced, and then it was set. It's cranked down pretty far. This regulator's got a maximum 3500 psi. We went ahead and cranked it all the way down, and with the brand new tip, we were able to get 3600 psi. So we actually dropped it back to about 33 to 3400 psi, so that we have just a little bit of water being bypassed back into the water tank. Why that's important is that if you crank the regulator all the way down to where it bottoms out, no water's being bypassed. Inside there's a ball and a seat, and that forces the ball against the seat, and that'll cause premature wear. If we back it off just a little bit and bypass some of that water, it causes the ball to float off the seat just a little bit, so that we don't have metal-to-metal contact, and everything will last a lot longer. Just that little bit. Guy can't tell at the end of the gun whether he's got 3300 or 3500, so the unit's going to last a lot longer. While the regulator was off, we went ahead and we took this flow switch, we took it apart. By now you should have already seen the flow switch troubleshooting video, and inside this flow switch there's a piston, and on the piston it's got 3 little prongs, and sometimes those prongs will break off. So with this regulator off, it's really easy to get inside there, so out of convenience to the customer, we removed it. Took it apart, inspected it, make sure it's okay, because now's the time to catch it if there's a problem. This one looked good, so we reinstalled it, put it back together again, put the regulator. Now you notice the regulator is set up with the adjustment on the far side. Sometimes what you'll see is some technicians will actually turn the regulator all the way around so that the adjustment is on this end, so that it's easy for them to get to. The challenge and the problem with that is that means that this portion of the unloader valve then would be clear on the other side, right over the generator. So understanding that with this regulator, if it's going to leak, chances are it's going to leak here. 99 times out of 100, this is where it's going to leak. So if we install the regulator with this towards the back and it leaks, it's going to spray right on that generator. And that's going to cause, obviously, premature failure. So thinking ahead and down the road as to what might go wrong with this and preventing that is one of the reasons why people deal with the professionals at A&E. Is thinking ahead. Yeah, it's a little bit less convenient to make your adjustments over here, but now that the adjustments are made and that the jam nut then is locked down, the likelihood of somebody fooling with this adjustment is a whole lot less. So it's kind of a double purpose why we put that back over there. So paying attention while all this is off too, if you have the plumbing off and water's dribbling down, you just want to make sure that the water doesn't drip down onto the generator either. Okay, so if you have any questions, we encourage you to ask your supervisor or contact A&E at www.aefresno.com.